This is Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work with another Wolff Responds. You might want to call this one the old problem of a justified grievance aimed at the wrong target. And I'm going to compare the United Kingdom and the United States because they're both stunning examples these days of exactly that. In the wake of the collapse of 2008 and 9, global collapse of capitalism, because that's what it was particularly harsh in the United States and the United Kingdom, in good part because the governments there tend to minimize their intervention in the economy, imagining, in the logic, if you can use that word for neoliberalism, that less government is somehow always good, a kind of absolute that is ludicrous if you ever study human history. But in any case, let me not digress. Here's what happened. In the wake of the collapse of 2008, the British conservative government savaged its working class. They called that austerity, which at least is an honest word. They savaged their working class, really hurt them, much more than the United States, although less than in continental Europe. And the working class in England suffered terribly. And the conservatives in power knew, as such folks often do, that they better find a scapegoat to take care of the anger and bitterness of the British working class. Otherwise, there was a risk that the left wing in Britain would use the collapse of capitalism and that the conservatives were in power during the collapse, and that the conservatives imposed on the working class an austerity program to worsen their already severe suffering because of the collapse, there was the risk that the working class would target them politically, the conservatives, and capitalism, the system, even scarier as a prospect. So the conservatives found a way to do it. Target another government, not them. The Europeans, the continental Europeans. You know, that distant country on the other side of the British Channel. Wow. And so they told the British working class, look, it's those evil European governments that want to impose their European governmental power on us free British people. It became an issue of freedom. We're going to free the British working class from the horrible government over there on the other side of the channel in Europe. Preposterous? Yeah. Illogical? Extremely. But it worked. And the result in 2016 was the Brexit vote. You were able to tap into British hostilities to Europeans that is old, often racist in some of its forms, and so on. And you were able to pull it off. For a couple of years, the British were all excited. They were going to be saved from economic and political and ideological suffering by breaking away from Europe. Britain is in worse shape now than it has been in decades. It is suffering from COVID. It is suffering from economic dislocations precisely linked to the absurdity of blaming the rest of Europe for the collapse of capitalism and the miserable way that the conservative government handled it. And here's the US parallel. The Biden government, desperate to avoid economic disintegration, which is on the agenda, tries to fight COVID to do a better job than the Trump administration did. A low bar. And it encounters very angry American working class people. I won't talk about the other classes, but the working class in the United States. And it goes to them with a scapegoat. The conservatives in the United States are not in power the way they are in the United Kingdom, so there has to be an adjustment. Their scapegoat doesn't have to be foreign governments, although they're perfectly happy to do some of that too. No, their target is Mr. Biden. Their target is the government intruding upon our freedom. I kid you not. You hear it, you see it. It's the freedom to not be vaccinated, the freedom to not wear a mask. Historians will look back on this period of time shaking their heads. The people who are very happy giving babies all kinds of vaccinations the minute they're born everywhere, who are happy to observe the government's red light at intersections so we don't kill each other when we drive our car. We accept limits to our freedom left, right, and center, but we are so upset by the decline of the capitalist system globally, by its horrific collapses, first in 2008 and now in 2020, that suffering real, target crazy. And that craziness should worry you, not because we won't overcome it, but because of what it tells us, how serious the suffering of our people is, that they would be so desperate as to follow right-wing politicians down the rabbit hole of illogical QAnons and freedom attacks. This is reminiscent of what happened in the wake of the Great Depression of the 1930s, when the suffering was also severe. And people in the end, in significant numbers, found in fascism and the wild imaginations of Nazis, of Mussolini, something to hold on to. Very scary time. Real suffering. Crazy targets as a way of solving them. This is Richard Wolff for Democracy at Work.